Hey everyone, I'm Ethan.
And I'm Jesse.
And today we'll be taking a look at the Maxfind Max 4 Pro electric longboard.
Next on Now Let's Review. Before we get started, we just want to let you know that Maxfind did send us this board for review, but that will not affect our review in any way, and our thoughts and opinions of the board will be based purely on our experiences with it. All right, so Ethan, we've been testing out a bunch of different longboards. What do you think of the build quality of this Maxfind?
Pretty decent. It's got an 8-layer Canadian maple deck. It's got this cool like carbon fiber paint job on it. It's probably just like hydro dipped. It's not like actual carbon fiber.
Yeah, it looks that way. So were there any parts of the board that you didn't find that well built?
So the battery compartment seems a little on the flimsy side compared to some other stuff. It seems very hollow.
I mean, that's metal.
It's got padding here to keep the battery in place,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't know.
What are you worried about? It's, you know what it is you're not used to seeing the innards.
I guess, but I mean, there's also like, there's sand in here, so it's not that well sealed. It's not like I've been taking it in the dunes or anything. I do. Just been riding around on the street and still you can't see, but there's sand that's gotten in here. It doesn't seem like it's super well sealed, which I guess is a problem considering there's a battery in there.
That does kind of bring up the point. Why can I look and see the battery?
So something about the Max 4 Pro specifically that isn't the case with most other longboards is that you can technically swap the battery in this. They sell different versions of it that have different numbers of battery packs. So this is the standard version. It's got the single battery pack, but you can also buy a plus range version and a super range version having 2 and 3 battery packs respectively. So kind of a cool feature to be able to swap the battery. You could have one, you know, charging back at your house or at your work or something. Granted, the battery is just kind of here and just exposed and like,
so yeah, let me pull this out.
You gotta just unclip some wires that don't really seem like they're meant to be meddled with.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can see in there's just a ton of different wires that makes me really nervous. This is a case, but the blue really makes me feel like it's not like I wouldn't wanna put this in my bag with a bunch of pens. Like I would be worried, you know, it is a lithium ion battery, right? So, okay, but I mean, in terms of a feature, that's kind of a neat feature.
Yeah, I just wish they would make it more like e-bike batteries where they're really like well housed and safe feeling and they could just easily pop out and pop back in. Something interesting about the Max 4 Pro is that it's really narrow. So most longboards are wide enough that your shoes basically stay on both sides of this, but here's one of my shoes. I wear size 11s and you can see it's like 3 or 4 inches almost off the sides of the board.
But you have enormous feet. Let me try my shoe size. What's shoe size? I'm 9.5. Still sticks off the ends of the board. Okay, so the board's a little bit narrow. Are there any redeeming factors about the board?
Actually, there are. So the fact that it's narrow is almost overcome by how insanely rough this grip tape is. And rough grip tape is good. It means it's very sticky. So even though your feet are probably going to stick over the edges of this board quite a bit, the grip tape is so sticky that you're probably not going to slide at all. So once your feet are locked in place, they're going to stay in place. The turning with the Max 4 is pretty smooth. The trucks are nice enough, and it feels steady even when you're going fast and turning hard. The board has 98A bushings, which means that it's set up for heavier riders. And although I'm a lighter rider, I didn't really feel like they were too stiff for me in most cases. The Max 4 Pro has a maximum rider weight of 220 pounds.
It's kind of low.
Yeah, it does seem low. A lot of these boards have pretty low max rider weights. It has 96mm wheels, which I think are massive for this board. Like, it seems unnecessarily big. Like a normal longboard has very, very small wheels. All electric longboards have much bigger wheels because they have to fit the motors in the back.
Right.
These are just the biggest of any electric longboard I've ever seen. They're just enormous, and especially for the like narrow shape of this board, and it also has a kind of short wheelbase. They just seem way too big for this board. They probably did it just so they could fit the large motors in the back. The motors are 750 watts each. One in each of the rear wheels.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so this has a lot of power claimed, right? I don't necessarily believe that. That might be a very, very peak rating because you would think with 1.5 kilowatts of power that this would be insanely fast.
Right, I mean, there are many e-bikes that have one 750 watt motor and they are like a load of fun. You're saying there's 2 750 watt motors.
Yeah.
So 1.5 kilowatts on a board that does not weigh that much. I mean, this thing should be a frickin' rocket.
I know, it should be the most insane longboard I've ever ridden.
So is it a rocket?
It goes 25 miles an hour, and that I believe. I do believe the top speed. It feels pretty close to that.
Okay.
I haven't tested it with any like GPS
instruments.
speedometer. Exactly, but I mean, I would believe the top speed. The acceleration though just feels so muted for a 1.5 kilowatt longboard. I feel like a lot of these longboard companies do this thing where they must be limiting the acceleration through software.
Okay, so the acceleration isn't Evel Knievel, but it is definitely spirited.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the braking, because I want to be able to stop.
Yeah, so the braking is also really smooth. The acceleration and braking are both controlled with a thumb scroll wheel on the remote. It's actually weaker than most other longboards I've ridden. And I would imagine that's also software limited because you don't want to go flying off the board in the other direction.
It's like skateboarding is kind of dangerous or something.
It's something like that. But it's not going to be a big problem because for the most part, you're probably going to be riding this somewhere where you'll have room to stop. If in an emergency, you need to just slam on the brakes and really come to a stop quickly, this is not going to be the best board to do that with. Yeah, so the acceleration and the braking are both controlled by the remote, as all these electric longboards are. The remote is really big compared to other electric longboard remotes.
I like it.
Okay. See, I'm not a fan. I like the smaller remotes better. I feel like they just fit in my hand. They're less intrusive. I don't even have to think about it.
How big is your hand to mine?
Same
exact size.
But yeah, it's noticeably bigger than any other longboard remote I've used.
The Max 4 Pro has a 36 volt, 4.4 amp hour Samsung battery that can charge in as little as 2 hours and gives the board a claimed range of 12 miles.
Yeah, so I range tested this on a bike path, mostly flat ground, same as I do with all the longboards, and I got 10 miles when the board hit 25% battery. I don't know if it actually had a full 25% or if that was just the most recent indicator that it gave me, but with that being said, assuming it did have 25% left, you could easily hit the 12-mile range. Now, 12 miles is on the low end for ranges with these longboards. We're averaging usually 15 to 20, even a little bit above 20 with a lot of the ones we've tested. So definitely on the lower end of the range spectrum when it comes to electric longboards, but this does have swappable batteries.
All right, so Ethan, I'm not the best longboarder. I didn't grow up riding longboards. I didn't grow up playing even Tony Hawk Underground. So I'm not that comfortable on a board. What do you think? Should I go for a ride?
I mean, you certainly could. This is by no means impossible to ride for a new rider. I just think because of how narrow the board is, it might be a little more difficult to learn on because like I mentioned earlier, when your feet are hanging off the sides a little bit, it just means you can't put as much pressure onto the board to make your turns, and it also could make you feel a little less stable if you're not used to how it feels being on a longboard. It's definitely manageable power-wise. It does have 4 speed modes, so you could stay in the lower one. The acceleration, like we said, isn't gonna throw you off the board. You could easily learn on this. It just might not be as comfortable or as easy as some of the other ones that we've tested.
All right, so we talked about a lot of different fun stats and stuff, but I think most people care about the price. What's the price of this board?
So this one is the standard range version. It only has the single battery and it costs $569 US as of writing this review in December of 2021. Now, I think that is a little bit on the high side. Like I've said in the other videos, I think all electric longboards are a bit overpriced, but considering this has one of the lowest ranges, actually the lowest range of any of the longboards that we've tested, I think you're paying a little too much for a board that doesn't deliver as much as other options in a very similar price range do. Overall, the Maxfind Max 4 Pro is a solid longboard that will get the job done for commuting around the city or a college campus. If you can get over the oddly narrow deck, or if you just happen to wear small shoes, and the lower than standard range of 12 miles will still get you where you need to go, then this board is a fine option.
I'm just constantly impressed by electric mobility products, so I can't even find anything wrong with it. I just think it's so cool.
Yeah.
And I do love the looks of it. I think
Great looking board.
Great looking board.
Nice.
The trucks look really nice, and I love the remote too. So that's our review of the Maxfind. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it, please hit the like button. If you didn't enjoy it, leave a comment below. Tell us what we didn't test, because I'm sure we didn't think of everything. You didn't do any tricks with this, huh?
I didn't do any tricks. I'm not a skateboarder. I'm not a
And this
park
isn't
guy.
a skateboard,
yeah,
right?
And if you can do tricks on one of these, then props to you, because that is crazy.
Yeah. Give yourself a thumbs up. Click the button, but it's for yourself.
Yeah.
It'll still help the channel, but good for you. And hey, please consider subscribing to this channel. We have lots more longboards to review. We have lots more other electric mobility stuff. If you're watching this and you're like, yeah, I'm never gonna ride a longboard, no problem.
Tell us in the comments what you want us to review. What would you like to have that you want to see a review of first, and we will try to get it and try to review it for you.
Yeah, because we got scooters, we got bikes, we got weird scooters that you sit on, so you're not gonna wanna miss any of that. Hit the subscribe button. We'll see you next time. Now let's review.